My takeaway is there's a very real prospect that on the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him, that he may be the first president in quite some time to face the real prospect of jail time.
The noise from the D.C. swamp blasting through the media megaphones, in case it isn't obvious, is the fantasy that Trump has finally been caught. This latest chapter of the assault on Trump's presidency, as everyone knows, concerns Michael Cohen's plea of guilt to the allegation that he violated the campaign finance laws when he made payments of money to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. Stormy Daniels performed in pornographic videos and is now a stripper who follows Trump around. She claims to have had sex with Trump about 10 years ago. Karen McDougal appeared in Playboy and apparently has some interest in fitness. She too claims to have had sex with Trump about 10 years ago. Neither of these women has claimed that their interactions with Trump were anything other than consensual. In fact, Karen McDougal has said that she liked and had fun with Trump. Michael Cohen was Trump's lawyer until the government executed a search warrant at his home and his office, and then coerced him into becoming a snitch when they had him dead to rights on a tax evasion case. Michael Cohen negotiated settlement agreements with the two women. In specific, the women agreed to keep their relationships with Trump confidential in exchange for the payment of money. There is nothing illegal about these agreements, nor do they become nefarious, let alone illegal, when they are described as hush money payments. They are nothing more and nothing less than written contracts which have a legal object. In a misguided and unethical zeal to get Trump, a few partisan prosecutors in New York included a novel allegation in the tax case they filed against Michael Cohen. This allegation is that when Michael Cohen made the payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, he violated the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971. The New York prosecutors accused Michael Cohen of making the payments required by the settlement contracts in order to influence the presidential election. In court, when he pled guilty, Michael Cohen confessed that when he made these payments, he did so at the direction of a candidate for federal office, who we all know is Trump, and that he made the payments for the principal purpose of influencing the election. The import of Michael Cohen's confession that he committed his alleged crime at the direction of Trump is that it purports to implicate Trump in the alleged crime. Section 2 of Title 18 of the United States Code provides that anyone who induces another to commit a crime is punishable as a principal. This means that if Michael Cohen's confession can withstand legal and factual scrutiny, then it is possible that a jury could find Trump guilty of a criminal campaign finance violation. Adding to the drama, the prosecutors immediately placed some secret documents in a vault at the courthouse. In my view, far too much of what this government does, it does in secret, but that's neither here nor there. I have no doubt that the New York prosecutors are either willing to pursue such a claim against Trump or that they have already filed it. I also have no doubt that the claim will not only go nowhere, but also that it is legally frivolous. First of all, I doubt very much that even a Department of Justice with a very obvious bias against Trump would actually prosecute him. While Trump is a unique character in American history, and this suggests that exceptional treatment of him is less likely to shock the public, the fact is that he is the president. Prosecuting him on a chicken shit, legally questionable charge would do serious damage to the institution of the presidency. It would call into question some of the most important constitutional principles the people must believe in. This is why Bush was not prosecuted for ordering torture, and that is a real and serious war crime. Secondly, and perhaps more significantly, it is clear that the case cannot be made. It is true that it is a violation of federal law for an individual to make a contribution of more than $2,000 to a candidate for federal office. A contribution does not have to be money. It can be a loan, an advance, or anything of value. The critical feature is that it must be made for the purpose of influencing an election for federal office. However, a lawful and commercially reasonable loan or advance made in the normal course of business is not a campaign contribution. Thus, while the payments made to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal totaled more than $2,000, even if they could fairly be characterized as intended to influence the election and not to advance some other benign interest, they were not campaign contributions. Michael Cohen was Trump's lawyer. In the ordinary course of his business, he negotiated legal settlements with the two women, and then advanced the payments required by the settlement agreements. He was later reimbursed for the advances pursuant to his fee arrangement with Trump. Moreover, there is no evidence that there was anything commercially unreasonable about his relationship with Trump or about how these particular transactions were handled. Closer analysis of the law reveals that this is just the beginning of the government's problems. Subpart D1A of Section 30109 of Title 52 of the United States Code provides that a campaign contribution in excess of the financial limits is only a crime if the excessive contribution is made in knowing and willful violation of the financial limits. The Department of Justice has a manual which governs how it enforces the campaign finance laws and how it evaluates and prosecutes criminal violations of those laws. One of the issues addressed in this manual is the meaning of knowing and willful in Section 30109. In conformance with the legislative history of the Act and case law interpretation, the manual explains that an excessive contribution is only knowing and willful, and therefore only criminal if the offender knew what the law prohibited and proceeded to violate the law in spite of that knowledge. Two questions follow. First, even assuming that the payments Michael Cohen made were at Trump's direction and were contributions to his campaign, how is the government going to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump knew that the settlement contracts, which his lawyer, Michael Cohen, negotiated, were illegal campaign contributions, and that he instructed Michael Cohen to proceed anyway? This is absurd. Like anyone else, Trump has the right to rely on the legal advice of his lawyer. If the government cannot establish that Michael Cohen advised Trump that the settlements were illegal under the circumstances and that he should not proceed, the New York prosecutors will get laughed out of court. Second, is this nonsense the best use of our federal resources, of our tax dollars? America quite literally is becoming a third world nation. In most cities, we can barely keep the streets paved. Our schools and medical system are pathetic. While we have nearly full employment, the same can be said of a slave plantation. The critical fact is that almost no one has gotten a raise for 20 years, and inflation and taxes are taking a bigger bite of our money every year. Meanwhile, the rich keep getting richer because the poor are too stupid to look away from the Trump show for 5 minutes to get pissed off about how fucked up everything is. In conclusion, it is dismaying that so many people are willing to overlook the law and the Constitution if doing so means that Trump will be taken out. Our law is what defines us as a civilization. Without it, we have nothing. Worse than this, any one of us could be the next victim of an overzealous prosecutor who is pandering to a public unconcerned with our rights.